Here's the start of Heat 1A as we look out on the course of the Miss Budweiser coming up hard on the inside. She's got a little distance to catch up. Chip Hanauer powers hard into the turn. He gets airborne. Chip Hanauer going over in turn number 1. He was trying to break to the front of the pack. He had the inside lane. He's upside down in the water. Chip is still inside that boat. What does this remind you of, Jim?
It reminds us of Seattle. This very same hull that's been repaired flipped over much the same during testing the day before the race in Seattle, Washington. That up above shot was from our Budweiser blimp. Look at the rescue crews. You can see parts of the boat. The driver is still in there upside down.
This will give us a good look at how these drivers are taken out of these boats. He has not released the capsule underneath. Obviously, the divers are going in to check his condition. Now, one of those divers will get up on the boat. He's got a key with him that'll open the latch, and he actually sits on top of that latch while he's racing so they can get to him fast. He's got his own breathing mechanism, so he should be all right there. It is watertight and holds on his face. Look at his legs. He kicked his legs right out of the door. They're pulling him out of the boat now. This is Chip Hanauer, who went into this race, Jim, with some sore ribs. Take a look at what happened.
The skid fin that keeps him on the race course in a turn comes completely out of the water. The boat becomes airborne, does a half twist, and flops over backwards.
You can see the tremendous impact the boat had against the water, and you can imagine what it was like for Chip Hanauer inside that cockpit. The radio report is that he is conscious. We'll get a further medical report shortly. Let's go down to the pits and Steve Montgomery. Steve?
Mark Tate in the Winston Eagle was running in lane 2 right beside Chip Hanauer and Miss Budweiser. Mark, did you see what happened at all?
Well, basically all I saw was I got into the corner quite late because it was just a screwy start, and when I got into the corner and got about to the apex, all of a sudden there's a big wall of water that came across to the right, and then it left, and then it came across again, and I knew something happened to the Budweiser because all of a sudden he wasn't there.
You could actually see some of the pieces of the Budweiser as you looked from inside the boat. Look at the tremendous driving as the Budweiser goes over. It looks like Mark Tate is going to come right up on him and go over, but he doesn't. He manages to avoid him on the outside. Well, we'll be anxious to see about that. Meanwhile, on the restart of Heat 1A, the Winston Eagle is now in lane number 1. Winston Eagle charging hard, and right there you've got your battle for second place in the high point standings with the Tide boat riding right on the outside. Winston Eagle around the turn and loses a cowling. He lost the cowling off the top of the engine, so he's got to be aware of water that might get inside there. Jim?
Are you ready, Dick? Mark Tate in the Winston Eagle has just set the fastest competition lap ever here at Heat 1A, 161.5. That's the fastest on any course, any city, anytime, anywhere.
That's a tremendous record to hold, and it's a record that is certainly going to be on the mind of George Woods Jr., who's back in second place. We're looking at some of the other field. This boat, the COORS Dry, is being raced for the first time by Dave VILLWOCK. He's returning to the driver's seat. Here's your checkered flag out now for the fast boat in the heat. Winston Eagle, Mark Tate, and he got another record?
Yes, he did. 153.036, a course record for the average heat.